Printing and exporting, export to CAD. So someone says, I would like you to send that to me in AutoCAD format. Well, how do we do that? Well, actually, Revit does a great job of exporting out to CAD, and everything is put on proper layers and everything. Let me just show you this. I'm in a sheet right now. I'm going to go to the application menu, export, and then CAD formats. And I'm just going to go in here to DWG files. But of course, you're not limited to that. You can do DXF, which is a common interchange format for CAD. You also have DGN, which is read by MicroStation. And then you have ASYS SAT files. Those are largely for 3D solids. Of course, there's lots of other exports that you can send to. Right now, we're going to focus on DWG. So you click on DWG, and then you can go through and you can choose different things. So I can say, let's export the sheets in the set. And let's just go to sheets in the model. There we go. So now we can pick those sheets. You can also change things like the layers and properties, colors. It tends to be fine just as is. You can go through and say, okay, well, where are my walls? What layer are my walls going to? So if you go to walls here, when you cut them, they're going to A-wall, and the color is 2 in CAD. I think that's yellow. So those are how the categories in Revit map over to the layers in AutoCAD. It tends to do a good job that way. Now you just go next. You can choose your version, and you can go all the way back to 2000 DWG files, or just stick with 2010 if you want. You can also XREF views on sheets. This will create extra views, and what it does is it'll take any views that are multiple on sheets, and then it will XREF them onto a sheet. Let's not do that for now, and I'm just going to say OK. Okay, so that's exported out. It depends on how fast your computer is and the resources and that, how long it will take. But usually it's just a minute or two. So here's an AutoCAD file that's been exported from Revit. This view right here, this is a layout view in AutoCAD. And you'll notice that the title block's a block. It has a viewport, and that's on a non-plot layer. You'll have to tell it to be non-plot. It just has the name non-plot. So in the layer control, you'll have to say non-plot. This is actually to the right scale as well. So the viewport will be to the right scale. I'll go over to the model. And the only thing I might want to change here is the LT scale. Just put that at 100, because AutoCAD isn't like Revit, right? It doesn't scale things automatically. So if I just go in here, you can see that that's on A floor overhead. This should be a block. It's on A Gen M. This is on A dash door. These are on dimensions. So, everything is fairly logical. You're not really going to have anyone bat an eye at your AutoCAD drawings that come out of Revit. They're going to be quite clean, and they are purely 2D. They're completely flat for the most part. Now, it exported each one of my views, and each one is equally organized. Here's another one, an example of the elevation, and you'll just find the same thing. So everything is quite organized, named properly. Hatches are right, line types are right. Change that LT scale to 100 again, just for good measure. Okay, hatches are right, line types are right, text is right. It's really quite a clean drawing. Now, what about 3D? Let's talk about that. Well, if you go to a 3D view, and especially the default 3D view, you're able to export exactly what you see. If I turn off the trees, if I turn off the site, only this will export. And I actually have to turn it off in the views. So why don't I do right click, we'll duplicate the view. Let's do this right. We'll rename the view. We'll call this one 3D export. Let's turn off the site and the trees. I'll just right click and I will hide categories in the view. Good. So how do we export this? Same way as exporting 2D. You just go to the application menu, export, CAD formats, DWG. Now in this case, what we're going to do is just this view. And we're going to go next. This is called 3D view, 3D export, and 2010 drawing file. That's fine with me. I'll just say OK. Okay, so here we are in AutoCAD. That is the file that I just exported. You can see that it has different faces. Now these are polyface mesh. You can also choose ASYS solids as you're exporting it. You can also export to other things like FBX, or if you're going to be using it in something like 3ds Max, they like FBX. You can also do it as ACES solids. All of those settings can be found when exporting. There we go, export. And we could say DWG, but this time, let's go to our drawing properties. And we'll notice here solids as ACES. And now it's going to export it as a solids file. So you can see there all of the objects, they're on the correct layers. That's on 3D roof, and they're the type of objects that you would expect to see.